Manchester United's manager, Erik ten Hag, has faced a challenging start to the season, and it's worth acknowledging that the Glazers' management hasn't made matters any easier at Old Trafford. Since his appointment, ten Hag has been confronted with a multitude of on- and off-field issues. Remarkably, last season he navigated these challenges adeptly, even enjoying an impressive run at one point. However, the current season seems to be piling on the pressure, with a significant portion of the squad sidelined due to injuries, 2 players unavailable for personal reasons, and the lingering issues related to the club's financial situation and aging infrastructure. In light of these formidable obstacles, can Erik ten Hag still find a path to success at Manchester United? Manchester United recently lost 3-1 to Arsenal and Brighton, and what's striking is that they had Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans as their central defenders, the same pair from 4 seasons ago when they played for Leicester City. This situation highlights a problem at Manchester United. Things have not progressed as one might expect. You wouldn't see something like this happening at clubs like Manchester City, Liverpool, or even Arsenal these days. Former club captain Gary Neville criticised the Glazer ownership for not investing in the team, and it's widely known that those in charge at Old Trafford are reluctant to spend money to improve the squad. But is this lack of investment the main reason why Manchester United has fallen behind its rivals in recent years? Is it really the most significant factor in their struggles? The Glazers are a controversial topic in English football. If you ask a Manchester United fan, they'll likely say that these American businessmen are harming the club, which used to be great but is now declining. However, some people see this as an excuse, especially when you look at the financial numbers. Chelsea has been giving out long-term contracts and has spent the most money on transfers in the Premier League over the last 5 years. Surprisingly, Manchester United is second on that list, and their fans are demanding more investment from the owners. Gary Neville, a former player, pointed out on Sky Sports recently that considering the huge income the club generates, Manchester United should be among the top spenders. But it's difficult to argue that they have spent their money wisely. Paul Pogba is still the most expensive signing for the club, costing more than Antony, who was bought for £80 million. Antony has played 47 games for United, but has only contributed to 11 goals and assists, which is not very impressive. Surprisingly, he often starts ahead of Jadon Sancho, who also came for a similar hefty price but hasn't performed well. But now both of them are unavailable. Antony went to resolve a situation where he was accused by 3 women of domestic abuse, and Jadon Sancho put out a tweet accusing ten Hag of favouritism in the team, for which he later refused to apologise and has been dropped from the club and is most likely leaving in January. Both of them cost United around £158 million. Harry Maguire, who has faced criticism, falls between Antony and Sancho in terms of record signings. Below them, there were Romelu Lukaku and Angel Di Maria, who were signed for big money but left the club shortly after, with United managing to get good fees for them from other clubs. Following them, there are 2 players, Rasmus Højlund and Casemiro, at different stages in their careers, but the common factor is that United paid more than the usual market rate for them. You could argue that there's a premium attached to playing for United, but it's clear that the club can still afford to compete for transfers without the Glazers' financial support. So the problem doesn't seem to be about lack of investment at all. Erik ten Hag spent much of the past summer trying to bring in Frenkie de Jong, a player he had worked with at Ajax. However, he ended up signing Christian Eriksen, who also used to play for Ajax. Additionally, he brought in Antony and Lisandro Martinez, 2 other players he knew from his time at Ajax. He also added 2 Dutch players, Wout Weghorst and Tyrell Malacia, and this summer he signed 2 more former associates, Andre Onana and Sofiane Amrabat. While it's not unusual for a manager to reunite with former players occasionally, the remarkable thing here is the large number of players with close ties to ten Hag joining Manchester United. Most of them either have a personal connection with him or have played against his teams. This suggests that he plays a significant role in identifying talent for the club. At Manchester United, their football director, John Murtough, has a background in analysis but not in scouting or directly finding talent. Darren Fletcher, the club's technical director, took on various roles within the club before this one, and CEO Richard Arnold is mainly focused on the business side of things at United. Unlike many other clubs that have hired sporting directors to handle player recruitment and ease the manager's workload, Manchester United currently has a gap in this area. They had plans to bring in Ralf Rangnick on a consulting basis after his interim managerial role ended. However, Rangnick changed his mind and decided not to in order to manage Austria. So the question is, who stepped in to replace him? If Erik ten Hag is being blamed for making poor signings during his time at Manchester United, it's possibly because his last role as a sporting director was almost a decade ago, when he was with Utrecht. This situation is somewhat similar to how United's leadership might have set up Ralf Rangnick for failure by hiring him despite his limited recent experience at the highest level of football. Ten Hag is unique among the managers at the top clubs, as he has significant responsibilities in both coaching and player recruitment. Asking the Glazers to invest in the team is one thing, but requesting them to update the stadium's infrastructure, maintain the club's competitiveness, or even show some care for the club is a different matter altogether. Just pouring money into Manchester United's player roster won't address the core issue of how Ten Hag is burdened with more responsibilities than his peers. Ten Hag gained attention when he ran over 8 miles with his players after a loss to Brentford last season, demonstrating that he saw everyone as equally responsible for the team's failures. However, who is supporting him in the transfer market when it comes to making crucial decisions about player acquisitions? Honestly, if you don't follow the drama or you're not a Manchester United fan, this is all the Glazers' fault. Ever since their takeover, they haven't invested a penny into the club and piled a debt on the club over £1 billion. Keep in mind the club didn't have a debt before the takeover. How this is allowed is beyond me. Surely there has to be a department to oversee these things and regulate. So when you see those protests from United fans that have been going for over 5 years now, it's not just about the bad results. Rangnick spoke about the problems, Ronaldo also spoke about the problems in his interview with Piers Morgan. At this point, it's not even about defending the club you root for, it's about change for a better future. There isn't a single positive thing currently in United, and it will only get worse. Every manager who came after the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson was doomed for failure. So how can we expect Ten Hag to succeed? David Moyes in his time at United wanted Toni Kroos, Gareth Bale, Paul Pogba, and Fabregas. And what did he get? Deadline day Marwan Fellaini. Not even going to mention the rest of the managers who didn't get their way with the club. Mourinho was correct when he claimed that his biggest achievement in his career was runner-up in the Premier League with this Manchester United. Everyone laughed at him then because he had won the league before with Chelsea and the Champions League with different clubs, but he knew what he was talking about and meant every word he said. Zlatan Ibrahimovic also said that Manchester United seems like a big club from outside, but from the inside, it's a small, rotten club with a closed mentality. And as we've seen the past decade, a repeating circle is happening again. A series of bad results due to unavailable players and issues inside the club, then the club begins to leak information about the inside and about unrest. The media forces pressure onto the manager, turning the fans against him and eventually getting the sack. Then a new manager comes in, and everyone is happy at the start until the bad results eventually come in and everything repeats over and over again while the main issue is still there. Erik ten Hag is doomed to fail at United if the Glazers do not sell the club. There were reports since March, and every United fan felt like paradise on earth, but those reports dragged and somehow only silence followed with Glazers still in charge. Do you think Erik ten Hag will fail? Let us know in the comments below.